眩しくて戻らない瞬間もう誰にも奪わせないそんな世界から得るためガブガブガブガブエナジーガブ
IronSandBenders. What are they? Well, in this video, I'll tell you what they are, how they'll come to be, and how they'll affect the overall story of Avatar 2025. You see, IronSandBenders will be a new subset of benders that will be derived from metal benders who were derived from earthbenders. You see, with metal benders bending the earth within the metal, it's what allowed them to develop the art of metal bending. You see, being originated from Toph, it was cultivated by one of her daughters, leading towards the creation of the city of Zaofu, where earthbenders could go to become metal benders. And then there are sandbenders who bend the smallest particles of earth. Like waterbenders, they let the earth flow through sand and control that flow. But because of that similarity to waterbending, it is the most difficult bending style for earthbenders. And it is because so many things are made out of the earth that it makes sense that there are so many subsets of earthbending. But what is IronSandBending and how could it be developed? Well, in this new cyberpunky era, I would imagine that there would be a lot of innovations and advancements with non-benders and benders working to improve technology and better understand their surroundings and environment and the world that they live in. And I can imagine the city of Zaofu being the lead in that innovation because of their origin and artistic expression as well as mastery over metal bending. And I can see them being similar to Wakanda, the city of the future in Marvel Comics, developing both Iron Sand and IronSandBending from experimentation on how metal bending can be further improved. And this could be a game changer when it comes to combat, because I can see them rocking Iron Sand in both clothing and arsenal, carrying that heavy load around because earthbenders are naturally stronger than non-benders and other benders, and being able to manipulate the Iron Sand around them into various forms and constructs that they can use for both defense and offense, like creating giant hands to both crush or slap their enemies around. I could also see them creating various weapons out of the Iron Sand, and it would just be similar to the capabilities of a waterbender, but be made out of harder, tougher stuff. But there's still the difficulties of earthbenders manipulating sand-like elements because of how similar sand is to water and waterbending. And it is because of that problem is where science and technology comes into play. Because I can see the people of this cyberpunk Zaofu implementing ferromagnetic metals and materials into both their technology and Iron Sand, to use magnetism to help them better manipulate the Iron Sand and give them greater ease at bending it. And I can see them reconstructing Zaofu out of ferromagnetic metals and then covering it with Iron Sand to give IronSandBenders the possibility of being able to control the city and manipulate it however they want, whenever they want, allowing them to create passageways and roads and create different types of architecture in whichever way, whenever, the way they did with old Zaofu, but have an even easier time now that everything is more sand-like. And again, this would allow the cyberpunk Zaofu to truly be the city of the future, as regardless of how advanced technology is everywhere in the future of the Avatar world, Zaofu, this new Zaofu, will truly be able to do whatever they want through the manipulation of Iron Sand and the development of this new subset of bending, IronSandBending. As for how it could affect the overall story, well, for one, I could see the new Avatar, Avatar 2025, being an IronSandBender. Maybe in the beginning he has difficulties learning the other three bending, but it's okay because he has mastery over this new unique style of bending, IronSandBending, where in a cyberpunky future, that could really get you far because most things would be made out of metal. And maybe through the Avatar state, he could turn any metallic material into Iron Sand. It would be really savage and cool. or they could simply be an antagonistic force or allies waiting in the grass. Cyborg FireBenders. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, keep watching, I'ma tell ya. Hi you, King here. And we all know that technology in the Avatar world advances dramatically each time the four nations decide, collaboration is better than just throwing all-out hands with one another. And we've had some geniuses, some top brain geniuses in the Avatar world that each time they invent something new, it drastically changes the overall history of the verse, modernizing it and innovating it towards the future. Teal's dad was one with his creations of air blimps and subs, leading to the development of airships and military submarines. Varric was another with his many inventions powered by spirit vines. And even Asami and her father were extremely intelligent, making all those different types of mech suits. And each time these geniuses are allowed to play in the Avatar world, they get to make something that allows non-benders to get to play with the big boys. I'm talking about powerful benders being beaten by non-benders using either mech suits or some other form of technology. And I believe in a cyberpunky world that the creators of Avatar said that the new Avatar story will most likely take place in, that it would be the perfect setting for cyborg technology. So here's my thoughts on how the cyborg technology could look, as well as what it could do and the type of story that could come about from it. First up, I believe the technology will be mainly made for military use and guard services. And the easiest type of benders they would find to be able to emulate with the technology would be firebenders. Because all these geniuses would have to do is create technological prosthetic limbs that are connected to nerve tissues that responds to the electrical messages that are sent through them from the brain that tells these new mechanical arms and legs to move like organic ones. And these mechanical arms and legs will have to be able to produce flames to emulate firebenders shooting out fire from their own limbs. And firebenders can generate and redirect lightning, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue to have the arms have that functionality as well, to be able to generate electricity and shoot it out or discharge it, as well as absorb it to power the technological and mechanical systems. And I would imagine that the cyborg limbs and parts would have coolant systems that would keep the organic flesh and body parts from overheating, since these aren't natural born firebenders with immunity to heat, while also having the limbs and parts be colored red to categorize them as cyborg firebenders. With a major pro for the story of having a bunch of cyborg firebenders be that you would have a bunch of non-benders who are jealous of the power that benders have naturally, and they would take up a deal to give them that power, turning themselves into cyborgs. So even though they'll be happy that they have the power now, they'll be under the full control of the people who gave it to them. And they will either be a major threat or a bunch of fodder for the main characters. Because just like in One Piece, just like in Star Wars, just like in any universe of an epic show, you need your enemies to be a problem. You need them to be able to throw numbers upon numbers at your main characters just to show how good they are under pressure. And if the Fire Nation taught us anything, it is that fire can be dangerous and weaponized. And the Cyborg FireBenders could give old Avatar fans powerful nostalgia, as they would remind them how the story began when the Fire Nation attacked. They'll be able to fly like firebenders do, shoot fireballs. If they have a mechanical cyborg mouth, they'll be able to breathe fire. And because of their coolant system, they'll have some form of protection against extreme heat as well, with their only primary weakness being that they won't be able to actually bend fire like firebenders. They won't be able to control it. Also, I thought it'd be stoic if the procedure to turn yourself into a cyborg was called metallizing, so that the company behind the Cyborg FireBenders could be called Metallized Movement, like Metal Eyes Movement, like a double entendre. I thought it'd be cool. LightBenders. But what are they? Where do they come from? And how will they affect the overall story in Avatar 2025? Glad you asked, because I'm here to tell you. Hi you, King here, and LightBenders will be a subset of FireBenders. It'll be a new subset of bending that firebenders will unlock in this new cyberpunky era. As we know, firebenders are the only benders capable of producing their own elements to bend. They do this by manipulating the energy within themselves and then letting it out. They also do this when they separate the positive and negative electrons within their bodies and then have them smashing back together to generate lightning. And they also do this when they channel all their chi into their forehead to superheat the surrounding air and release a beam of explosive energy at their enemies for combustion bending. All of this to say, firebenders aren't new to the idea of manipulating energy through their firebending. So I figured they have the potential to light bend, since light is made out of photons and plasma that they can control through their firebending. And with gaining newfound control over this element, they can unlock a whole roster of abilities that can prove great in battle as well as in a lot of other different ways. One of which, to match this new cyberpunky era, could be making holograms, as through manipulating light they can create 3D images out of light to fool the eye. And things such as LED hologram fans in the real world are capable of doing such things, so imagine what a LightBender could do in the Avatar world. They could create a giant image of a robot or an image of one of the past avatars like Korra to strike the fear of God into their enemies. And depending on how good they are at light bending, make it appear as if they have an entire army of chi blockers or benders ready to strike at their beck and call. Which are all good for illusionary tricks and manipulating your foes, but they'll also have combative abilities for the light bending as well, such as laser beams that they can shoot out of their fingertips that incinerates through anything it comes in contact with, or generate photonic light orbs around themselves that can either become as bright as the sun, blinding any enemies around them, or have the light orbs float around themselves, acting as a defense against any enemy trying to come in close for a hand-to-hand combat. They could also simply have their bodies generate the light to make it extremely hard for chi blockers to come in and try to block their bending. Basically, through this new subset of bending, firebenders will be able to gain a whole plethora of light-based attacks and abilities. But in this new Avatar 2025 series, I imagine it won't be a whole group of firebenders that gain this new subset of bending power. For you see, I believe this new light bending power will only be held by a certain few of firebenders. A family that would have unlocked this new ability after Korra's era, and would have kept it hush-hush, only letting those within the family know the secrets of light bending. As for how this would affect the story, I believe this family would have created a company surrounding hologram technology that they would have created through their newfound ability to light bend, using the hologram technology for both entertainment and visual art purposes, and creating a family fortune from it. Only people part of this family will know how to light bend, and I believe one of these light benders will go and join the Avatar to aid them on their quest to save the world from whatever is ailing it. Comment down your thoughts, ring that notification bell, and like, share, subscribe, and follow at Theory Kingdom. But that's all I have for now. Stay tuned for the next Avatar 2025 video. Comment down below your thoughts on this video. Ring that notification bell so you know when the next videos drop. And like, share, subscribe, and follow. Also, don't forget, never forget, stay great.